So now we're going to talk about practitioners, meaning the people who practice theater, the people who do it. Primarily directors, stage managers, dramaturgs, designers, and actors. So we'll start with acting because most people agree that this is the most important person in the theater. If we didn't have actors on stage to light and direct and design for, wouldn't be a lot of point. So, acting, we could talk forever about acting. You can take many courses in acting. You can approach acting as an audience member or someone who is, analyzing or approaching acting in many different ways. The actor has basically three tools in their toolbox. There's the physical, their body, the vocal, their voice, and their brain, the psychological. What most people who haven't studied acting before might not realize is the importance in concentration and observation. It's very important for actors to be able to concentrate very specifically on one thing. When you're on stage or when you're behind the camera, there are many things that you're focusing on, that you could focus on. There's the audience sitting out there, there's the camera crew, there's the people backstage, there's all kinds of things that could distract you. It's very important for an actor to be able to have laser sharp focus on the person that they are acting with, or possibly themselves if they are on stage by themselves. The skill of observation is also a very important skill for actors. To be able to observe, to be a student of human nature is very important for many reasons which are probably pretty obvious. The terms centering and relaxation are two important terms for an actor. To be centered could mean possibly two different things. There is being physically centered, which is basically means your spine is in the correct alignment and you're in a position where you can use your body as a tool for communication, which is what actors do, they communicate. And relaxation is often misinterpreted, can easily be misinterpreted. Relaxation for an actor means the body is free of tension. Tension is the enemy of every actor, and tension is nothing more than misplaced energy. It doesn't have to be just, knots in your shoulders, although often it is. It means having all your energy available to you to do the task at hand, which is pursuing your character's goals. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Jumping back to centering, centering can also just mean being mentally focused, being emotionally, intellectually, physically centered and ready to go, which comes back to the ability to concentrate. At the end of the day, actors are responding to an impetus. One character says something and it causes another character to do something. That is what dramatic action is. That's the way that plays are written. Incidentally, the study of acting and the study of playwriting are very similar. The best acting class I ever had was a playwriting class, where you really have to get into the heads of your characters and really think about how one line is a response to the others. Many actors who have no training, who work primarily in film, will just work their method for acting, their process of acting is simply being alive and in the moment and responding to what is being said to them, which is a pretty good place to be. So when you're analyzing acting, think about how every line a character says is a response to the line that came before it, or something. It is a response to something. Actors have to develop their skills of reading scripts and being able to divine from the script their characters' goals, objectives, and obstacles. Every character always wants something for every line that they say, every syllable that comes out of their mouth is in an attempt to get something. However, there are obstacles that get in their way. That's what makes a play a play. If a play didn't have obstacles, didn't have conflict, it wouldn't be a play. So in order to overcome your obstacles and to get what you want, you have to do something. It's not about pretending to feel an emotion. It's about doing something to get what you want. Now, when you chop up a play for an actor, you divide it up into beats, and for each beat you define what your action is. A beat is a unit of action. This is the way to break a scene down into smaller chunks, because in one scene you're not just doing one thing as an actor. You are doing many things, often in order to get one objective, but you're doing it different ways. We'll talk about this a lot more if we haven't already. So the skill as an actor is to be able to know what action you're playing in each moment. That is a very simplistic look at what actors do. There's someone that I want to throw out there who is extremely important in the theater in the West. His name is Konstantin Stanislavski. He was a Russian guy who was working around the turn of the 20th century. 1890s in Russia was when he was kind of going hot and heavy. He was one of the founders of the Moscow Art Theater, a very famous theater in Moscow. He had to develop a new method of training actors because there was a new type of play being written, primarily by a guy named Anton Chekhov. He was writing realistic plays at a time when melodrama was all the rage. So Stanislavski loved Chekhov's plays, but realized that playing it in a melodramatic style was simply not going to work. It's hard for us to realize the revolution that Chekhov created in the theater because realism is now our default genre. Before Chekhov, it was not common that you had plays where people were, like sitting around having dinner and talking about normal everyday things. Now, granted, underneath their conversation, their hearts are being broken and, big drama is happening, but the style is realism, so it's not, big melodramatic. Stanislavski's techniques made it to the U.S. during the time when film and television, when film especially, was an emerging medium, which professional actors all wanted to be a part of, understandably. And that's why his techniques have become widely misunderstood in the U.S. Stanislavski's techniques were holistic and all-inclusive. He had his actors doing yoga and exercising, getting themselves in physical shape. He had his characters do historical research on the people that they were playing, which was the first time ever. Hard to imagine that, because today you just automatically do that, but back then you didn't. And he had them do extensive script analysis. It was an all-inclusive approach to acting. One of his techniques was called emotional recall. It is the process of reliving an emotion, or reliving an event from your past to recreate an emotion in yourself. This is the basis of method acting, founded by Strasberg. I am not a fan of method acting at all. Method acting at its best can work. It works well. It can work well for film and television because the camera is very close to you, and it's hard to lie emotionally about what's going on behind your eyes, which is what film acting is all about. So a lot of people who think method, actually most people who really know much about method, they know Strasberg is different than Stanislavski. So it's just a way of looking at the two different techniques. Stanislavski later, when he realized how everybody thought that his technique was all about emotional recall, he did a lot of writing and revamped his theories to include and focus on psychophysical action. That's a character doing something that helps them get what they want, as opposed to pretending to feel an emotion or to relive an emotion. The problem with emotional recall, besides how manipulative and how harmful it can be to an actor, trying to process your own emotional difficulties at a time when you should just be playing a character, it can take you out of the scene, because it's not very likely that every character you're going to play is living through something that you have lived through. So it's kind of ironic that what most people think of as acting in this country is a misinterpretation of the most important acting teachers' techniques. But that's the way things happen sometimes. So, a little brief bit about actors and what they do, and we'll talk about some more practitioners in the other lectures.